gather you're afloat.
Well, I'm about to be. I'm going to be launched on the 15th of December, Peter.
Will there be a small bottle of champagne? Will there be a small bottle of champagne smashed against you?
That's the one.
Right, so you're going on a cruise. You're talking about the royals, presumably?
Yes, I'm doing something called Turkey, Tinsel and Tiaras Royal Christmas Reviewed.
I love it. I love it. My goodness, that would be wonderful. I would pay a lot of money to go on that cruise, but thankfully, in the privileged position I'm in, I get your wisdom for free in this job anyway. Thank you for joining us today, Caroline. It's great to have you with us. And there's a lovely story about the Princess of Wales, speaking of her love and the importance of love ahead of Christmas, because she's had a shocker of a year, really horrendous. She's talked about love in the darkest times ahead of her Christmas Carol concert. Tell us about this, Caroline.
Well, she has, but I mean, as you read, these are hugely moving words. She's written words like love, hope, empathy, light in the darkest of times. In my head, there was running a kind of series of pictures of this time last year, when we'd no idea what was going to happen to the Princess of Wales. Do you remember there was the wonderful carol concert, The Princess in Winter White? And then, of course, we had the traditional royal Christmas, the walk to Sandringham with her looking, well, glowing, beautifully turned out, a wonderful family scene. And then almost as soon as we got into the new year came the news that both the King and the Princess of Wales were unwell. At first, cancer wasn't mentioned. And then, of course, odds of millions to one, both of them were stricken by this, and both of them, of course, have undergone a year of treatment. The King's still ongoing. The Princess of Wales, of course, finished her preventative chemotherapy in September. So her words have an extra poignancy about the arm round the shoulders, support, as I said, empathy. And of course, one of the candle lighters at this year's carol concert will be Sir Chris Hoy, who also has had a cancer diagnosis. So this is a wonderful event, of course, star-studded, but it's also got a much deeper, perhaps, personal note to it this year in view of what's gone on before. So we all look forward to seeing the Princess there, and I'm sure our thoughts will be with her and her family after what they've gone through this year. And of course, the King back on duty too, recently back from a rather gruelling tour to foreign parts. And of course, the way the royal family has joined together to fill the gaps in on a balcony that really has become not so much a thinned down as, well, anorexic. So going forward, let's hope there's going to be good health for all. And yes, it's going to be a fabulous concert which the world will watch.
Is she going to play herself, do you think, Caroline? Do we know? We know she's a very talented pianist herself.
Well, yes, I'm sure if she is considered up to it, the strain, the stress of it. Obviously, medical advice is sought before any of these early public appearances, but I would love to see her doing it again. And as I say, perhaps a fitting end to a gruelling year, which of course encompassed the most terrible social media storm. You're talking about trial by social media. Well, of course, the Princess of Wales has been no stranger to that.
That's absolutely
with some
right.
of the conspiracy theories, yeah.
Caroline, I have two stories I want to get through with you just in the next couple of minutes. We're a little bit pressed for time, but just there are fewer than 3% of hospitals have applied for their free picture of King Charles. Just 40 out of 1,454 took up the offer of a portrait. I should say we have one here in this building. We have a lovely big picture of King Charles. You can get it for free. These hospitals not doing so. Government departments in England, 82.7% of government departments, not quite sure how you come up with that, have applied for this. Only 15% of equivalent bodies in Wales, and fewer than a third of schools applied for the framed photo of the King in a Royal Navy uniform. Just 35 out of the UK's 475 universities. What do you make of this? What do you make of these statistics? There doesn't seem to be a huge amount of enthusiasm for Charles.
Well, I have to say, I think this is largely down to the fact that the last time this happened, when photographs of a new monarch were on offer to all these institutions, was over 70 years ago, when the view of the monarchy was a very, very different one. It was seen as, well, deserving of respect, purely because of the accident of birth that put someone on the throne, an age of waving white gloves from cars. And over 70 years, there's been a huge change in the way the monarchy is viewed. It now has an almost celebrity status with a fan basis, social media rules. So this idea that you should have a photograph. And by the way, when I went to school, when dinosaurs walked the earth, we most certainly did have a photograph of the Queen, and I was very jealous because I wanted her tiara. I still do, and I haven't got it. I talk about them, but
it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time, Caroline.
You never know. But you see what I'm saying, and I think it isn't so much to do with disrespect. It's to do with different priorities.
Well, indeed. And also with the greatest respect to people who are perhaps a slight generation older than myself, you know, we all have photos now. We have newspapers in colour, which weren't always the case, even in my lifetime. You know, not everybody can, if you want, you can get a poster very cheaply of a royal if you really, really want one. Another royal who is going to be in this country is the Emir of the State of Qatar, and this is His Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, accompanied by Her Highness Sheikha Janwar bint Hamad bin Sunab Al Thani, has accepted an invitation from His Majesty the King to pay a state visit. And they're going to be at Sandhurst. They're going to see the Duke of Gloucester at Mansion House with the Lord Mayor of London. This is going to be a big deal.
Well, yes, soft diplomacy, of course, these state visits, the shaking of the hand. Of course, it does jar a little bit when sometimes one looks at the human rights issues in certain countries. I mean, there's a lot of debate going on at the moment about football and connections with certain countries. But of course,
and the World Cup previously in Qatar, a number of slaves who died as a result of their times, as well.
Totally. All I would say is that this is part and parcel of the business of being royal. These visits are long in the planning. It takes ages to put them together. And yes, there's a certain format to follow of, you know, diamonds and banquets and visits to things that they think that the visitor is interested in. It's one of a number of visits going forward. And it will be interesting, of course, to see the king doing his kinging.
Well, absolutely. Caroline, thank you very much. Good luck on the cruise. I'm sure it'll be a triumph. And good luck on the tiara as well, getting one of those. I think it's about time.